Welcome in. It is day 323, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And today we're going over another one of the Kickstarter games that I have invested in and I'm waiting to get in. Now, this is a smaller game, but it's one of my favorite style games, and it's one I'm actually very excited to try out. The game is called Kings Tricktakers. Now, there's another game just called Tricktakers that came from the same company. It's roughly in the same area as this. This is supposed to be a bigger, better version of that, but the same basic mechanics. It is a trick-taking game. But this one comes with some really interesting adjustments to what I would consider the normal trick-taking game. So, you've got your 4 base colors and your 1 through 9 for your cards. So you're going to be getting your black, your red, your blue, and your green. Now, when you play a card out, just like every other game that you play that is a trick taker, you play a card, and somebody else is going to have to follow up, and if they have the same suit, they must follow. If not, they can play one of the others. The blue, the green, and the red are all the exact same type of card, meaning if you lead with a red, and the next player doesn't have red, and they want to play a blue, red's going to win because that was the let-off color. But if you play a black, black is the trump, and therefore, if you're able to play it, will exceed whatever the other 3 colors are that are chosen. Now, that would be enough by itself, if not for the fact that there are a bunch of different cards being added to this game. Firstly, you actually have a 5th suit. You have white. White primarily is a suit of retreat. You have the only cards that allow you to say that you are not going to win the trick are located within the white. Then, you also have a bunch of specialty cards, as well as jacks, queens, and kings for all 5 colors. Now, when the game starts, you're going to be playing 3 rounds, and you're going to be going after a boatload of points. And the way that it works is you're actually going to be doing a double snake draft, drafting cards. You have your 5 different colored jack, queen, kings, and you have to get one of them, and you can only take one. So, no matter what you're doing, if you're playing a max of 5 player, you take it and you're done. You don't get another one. So a player will know eventually they have to take a certain color. On top of that, you're going to have a bunch of other specialty cards. Some of these cards are going to be giving you a bonus card with it. For instance, one of the cards will give with it a black 10, which then will be put into your hand, and you will pick another card to discard so you have the same size hand as everybody else, and now you have the largest of the trump suit. Then, there are other cards that are all going to be added together, and what you end up doing is you're going to have in front of you your jack, queen, king, those are normal, and 3 additional cards. When the first round begins, you are going to pick one of those cards, and you're going to, all at the same time, put cards 2 face up, 1 face down. The 2 face up are going to let you activate abilities. The 1 face down is going to give you an objective. An objective meaning it's going to say, all right, look at the back of your cards. This one says you're going to get 40 points if you have exactly 1 trick at the end, or 70 points if you have exactly 3 tricks at the end. Another one might have said you're going to get 30 points if you have 0 tricks. Another one might have said you're going to get 30 points for every other player who does not hit their trick amount. So you're going to pick one of those, and that's your goal. That's a way to make points for the round. Then there are other things to do. For instance, you can, at any point during the game, if you play a red card, you can immediately put on top of it, if you have it, the red king. The red king will make it so now that is considered to be winning the trick. However, if somebody else plays a king after you do, so if somebody played a red 3, you played a red 2, but you played the king, you're winning now. The next person didn't have a red card, they played a white card, they played their king on top of it. Now that's the last king played, it takes the lead. So this is a specialty setup. But once you're done, once you've done that once, the king flips face down for the remainder of the game. Meaning now, every time that it's scoring time, the king will automatically score you 10 points. So if you can do this in the first round, you're getting 30 additional points. Now, you might say, well, everybody will just activate. Why wouldn't they? The reason they wouldn't is, 1, a person may not want to win on the last card because they're going to end up ruining all the points they would have elsewhere. It's not worth getting 30 guaranteed when you could get 20 guaranteed and get the king the next round. And by playing it right now, that extra 10 points you're going to get is going to cost you one of your objectives, and maybe it costs you 70 points. So that's one reason. The second is, because you're drafting, you might end up accidentally ending up with the blue Jack, Queen, King, and you don't even have a blue card. And if you don't have the color card that king goes to, you cannot play that king on a different card. So that's one of the setups. There's also ways to flip over your queen, and the jack will automatically flip over in the final round, as well as in the final round you'll actually end up getting multiple objectives below, as other cards will now be allowed to say we're going to flip up to 2, and only one card will have its ability, or you could choose to still flip just one and have 2 abilities. Things will keep changing, but you'll end up having 3 score rounds, and then you'll see who the winner is. Well, that's the game, but why don't we jump in? Let's talk our 7 categories and see where this game lands for us. When it comes to the art, surprisingly, I don't often say this about a trick-taking game, because usually their boxes are really tiny. There's not a lot to them. There's a couple that have a nice box. I like the Dwarf King. I appreciate Scheming and Skull King, also known as Skull King. This has got a pretty nice looking box. And on top of that, I think that the card art is fantastic. It's a huge thumbs up. Your components. There's 2 types. You've got loads and loads of cards. I want to say you've got probably in the range of maybe about 75 to 80 cards. Then all your points are given out as cardboard cookie points. 10s, 50s, and I think 20s. Or maybe it's 10s, 30s, and 50s. But 3 different value amounts. And actually, I think it's 10s, 50s, and 100s. And these are all really good cardboard. Everything looks fantastic in this box. They clearly went all out and made sure they had good quality components. Thumbs up. Your price. Now, the only reason that I'm questioning the price, they made plenty on this. This is a continuation from an older game. It's going to end up getting out there. But this is coming from Asia, I think Japan specifically. I'm not sure how much is going to specifically get stocked in the United States. That being said, this is not a channel for the United States. This is a channel for anybody who's watching. So I have to go based on, there's plenty of games I've said are massively available, but they may be a state available game. You may not find it in Europe or Asia as easily. I judge based on what I see. That being said, I think that this game is going to definitely have availability. It's going to be available online. It's probably going to be part of other future Kickstarters. And I think that this is one that you're going to find in stores at least in Asia and probably in specific stores here. I would expect that when I go to certain conventions like PAX East, I'm going to find this game in future years. So for me, it's going to be available. The question is price. And this, well, it looks really great. It's not a lot to it. I'm not expecting this price to be really much above maybe $20 to $25. That to me is fantastic. Thumbs up. Your difficulty. This game is a little crunchy. It's why I want it. I love trick-taking games. But I've gotten bored of playing the very basics like Wizard. I like a little bit more of a struggle, a lot more of a thinking game. So I like the concept that there are boatloads of cards that all have special abilities and that you're drafting them, and that not only are you trying to play your card, but you're trying to counter other people's cards. It gives us an all new level up. And to me, that's why this game is worthwhile, and that's why I think the difficulty for this game is going to hit huge for expert players, experienced players. The beginners and the kids may have a little trouble with this at first. Maybe it'll take them some time to get into it, but that's the great thing. There's so many trick-taking games, and they're not expensive. Introduce them to the concept through Wizard. Give them a little bit of a shift by bringing them into Skull King, and then jump them up to this level. All 3 games combined are probably going to be the price of a regular game, so you could really take your time and have your kid get to know a game, get to advance it, and then get to this one, which I consider to be probably the expert level of a trick-taker. So thumbs up on that. Replayability. Expert or no, this game is going to fly. It's going to take you probably about 10 minutes per round. So 30 minutes to play the game. That's not that long. You can play 2 or 3 in a row. You can get this game out on weekends, on weeknights. You can play with one person. You can play with up to 5 people. I think that this is going to be a game with plenty of replayability. Thumbs up. what are going to be your keys to victory? It's all of how you draft. You get to see your cards before you draft. And after you do the first round, the future rounds, you always keep the Jack, Queen, and King that you initially drafted. You get your random cards, which is why you may not get to activate that King if you didn't get it in the first round. You don't know what you're going to get dealt. But the rest of your cards, this gets interesting. You actually keep the 3 cards you drafted from before in front of you. Everybody else has theirs in front of them, and then the cards that weren't drafted go to the center, and you draft again. But this time, you cannot take a card that you already owned prior. So you could take it if there's a duplicate and somebody else has the duplicate, but you can't draft with one of the 3 in front of you. So you're going to have to get new cards. It's going to change it up. And for me, when I'm looking at the keys to victory, that means that you're looking at your cards and you're adjusting your plan with each round. And I think that's a fantastic setup. It gives so many levels of difficulty, of keys, of thought process. It's a huge thumbs up. Is the game unique? I feel like I want to give it the unique because I think that this setup of the drafting being put into the Trick Taker, to me, is a very unique feature. That being said, there's so many trick-taking games. I'm sure there must be something like this out there. It's still a trick taker. It's still that concept of the 4 colors with the black being the trump suit. It's still doing what Skimming and Skulking, aka Skull King, has done, of specialty cards. It's just that setup of the specialty cards being drafted. You know what? I have to give it to it. It seems like such a unique factor. I don't feel like this is the only game that does it. There must be another, but I've never seen it, and I'm a massive trick-taking fan. So if I haven't seen or played a game that does this, it has to be unique. Thumbs up. Overall, what do I think? I think this could be one of the games of the year when it comes to low price, high intrigue. I am pumped to get this to my table. I've talked about the other games and how I think that a game like Delta, like yesterday that I spoke about, I think could have 10 years of playability in it. This is a game that I see could have a couple hundred plays of playability in it. I could see this being a game that it could come and go. It might fall to the wayside a couple times at 6 months, a year at a time. But in the long run, I could see 200 or 300 plays of this game getting to my table. Well, it has been day 323, and we've been speaking about the game Kings Tricktakers. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description. When this game is available, I'll be putting an Amazon link in so you can get this game for your collection. And don't forget to jump onto Board Game Arena and look me up under the Meeples Champion. Send me a friend request, send me a game request. I'm sure to be on once or twice a day. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.